plunging. A new Pew Research study shows 36% of Americans aged 18 to 29 years old agree that other countries are better than America. Now, shocked by those numbers, Campus Reform's Cabot Phillips went to Georgetown University to see what students had to say. Watch.
Do you think that the U.S. is the greatest in the world?
It's awful.
It's not the greatest country in the world.
I don't necessarily think that the United States is the greatest country in the world.
With political climate, I would say it's not the greatest country in the world.
I wouldn't say it's the greatest country in the world.
Here with more is editor-in-chief of campusreform.org, Cabot Phillips. Cabot, thanks for being here. Just want to confirm that was Georgetown in the United States, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right here in our nation's capital.
What do you make of the reason for so many young people saying, America, not so great?
Yeah, I think there's two main reasons. First, you can look at what's happening in the classroom. So many of these students are not being taught American exceptionalism. They're not being given a historical context either. So when they think of our history, they think of it as being one of fascism and racism and genocide. They don't think of it as being one of individual liberty and freedom, like a place unlike any other, and that plays a role in their ignorance of not realizing how special and unique we are. And second off, I think you have to look at the way they were brought up and the culture they came up in. They had a president for 8 years during their coming into adulthood, President Obama, that said, well, American exceptionalism is not really a thing. It's every country thinks they're exceptional. We're no really better than any other country the way they think they are. And so I think that had to play a role as well. And I've been on over 100 campuses with leadership institutes, campus reform. I've seen anti-American sentiment. It's viewed as highbrow on campus, and I think that is what's contributing to all of this kind of forming.
Well, it's a great point, Cabot. You also asked kids about whether or not, you spoke about the classroom, they're actually taught about American exceptionalism behind those ivory towers. Here's what they said.
Is American exceptionalism a term and a concept that you've been taught here on campus in class?
Not at all.
I haven't really had any classes that have sort of instilled that.
I think it definitely depends on the professor, but for the most part, I would say that they don't think America is the greatest.
Cabot, I got to believe it's the exact opposite. I mean, the faculty today, if anything, they're teaching about the sins of America and the non-redeeming qualities.
They're certainly cherry-picking the aspects of America that they don't like. And in asking these students what the greatest countries were, they were saying, well, it's Norway, it's Sweden, the socialist heavens, or it's Canada, where everyone is so happy. And they also cited in why they don't like America our immigration policy, saying, well, we treat immigrants poorly, or we have such a strong border. And I think that when you look at how many people want to flood our shores, how many people are forming caravans and jumping on rafts to try and get here to America, it shows how wrong these students are. People are flocking to America because they know that we are the greatest country in the world, and it's kind of an ironic point there that they don't realize that they're making.
My goodness. And taking for granted the individual liberty, the equal justice, the incredible economic opportunities we have here, because they don't know anything else. And ultimately, did any of them ever contemplate the fact that, Scandinavian countries, Canada, yeah, you can be free, but if you can't defend yourself, if you don't have a military able to protect yourself and project power, you're not actually free.
They absolutely don't think about that. They're certainly not going to be taught that. And I've been on campus, too, where students come up to me, and it's like they're almost afraid of being patriotic. They're almost afraid of saying that America is this wonderful place because they've been told over and over that it's not something to be proud of, and they're almost ashamed of it. Some students there even said, well, when I traveled abroad, I had to keep my head down. I didn't want people to know that I was American. And that's the saddest thing that you could hear as an American. Yeah. And I think of all the people that have fought for our freedom to defend the quality of life we have here, and how it's now being taken for granted by so many of the people enjoying those freedoms. And for all the people saying we live in a fascist country, you can't exactly criticize a fascist country safely.
Well, no.
All these students can have whatever opinion they want and do it freely.
They should be protesting outside the Chinese embassy if they have an issue with that. Abraham Lincoln said it, philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation becomes the philosophy of government in the next. That's why they love Bernie. Cabot, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, coming up, there's Minnesota Nice, and then there's my old buddy, Brian Bremberg. We headed back to our hometown to relive